black people swim?
Black people can swim. Now, I don't know if all black people do swim, but all black people can swim.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're proof of that. There was a stigma of going into the water. It was just that we don't do this. And so going against what you, like as a black person, is supposed to be like, can be limiting for a lot of us, and how, our society views that.
A lot of black people don't know how to swim just because of the lack of access to the resources to swim.
Barriers that keep black people from the water, that have historically kept us from the water.
And a lot of that was like systemic. It was by design. Like, y'all can't come to the pools, which created fear. My grandfather, who grew up in Alabama, he wasn't allowed to go to any pools, first of all, just not even up to his parents. But also his parents reiterated that fear within him, like, that's a place where you don't go. And then in turn, even when he comes to move to California in the early 60s and has my father, that same fear gets put into my father, you know what I mean? So it takes one person to go, well, what if I just did it? What if I just tried it? You know what I mean?
For such a long time, we felt that we don't have the right to be a part of, or that we shouldn't be a part of. And I think we're starting to see a big shift in that now, and people are giving themselves permission to do what it is that they want to do and express themselves how they see fit.
We're collectively breaking that generational trauma and demystifying the water, you know?
There is a renaissance happening in surf culture. If you take a trip out to any beach in Southern California, you'll see what one might expect: the commercialized image of what a person may think when they hear surfing. But if you spend a little more time, take a bit of a closer look, or simply get lucky being there on the right day, you'll be surprised by what you find. In the face of discrimination and segregation, black people carved out spaces for themselves at Bruce's Beach and the Inkwell in Santa Monica. Back in the early 1950s, Santa Monica local Nick Gabaldon, of Mexican-American and African-American descent, waded out into the Pacific to reclaim space in the surfing community. He entered the beach at the only access point for him at the Inkwell, then paddled 12 miles north to Malibu Surfrider Beach, which is considered one of the best surf breaks in the world. Fast forward to 2022 and you'll see the Ebony Beach Club communing at Dockweiler State Beach, leading free surf lessons, tanning, dancing, and ultimately reveling in all it means to be young, black, and carefree in Southern California. You'll find Lizelle Jackson and Color the Water there, an organization committed to making surfing accessible to all through free lessons, outreach, and education. Or if you head up north a bit, you'll catch Hawaii's own Julian Williams shredding wave after wave at Malibu Surfrider Beach, the same beach that Gabaldon had to paddle 12 miles to surf at over 65 years ago. Whether it's these examples or any of the many other collectives around the country taking back the beach, one thing is for sure: black people do surf.
I mean, for me growing up, it was really like, I don't see anybody who's dark-skinned doing it. You wouldn't really think like a person of color would be jumping in the ocean. It's not something you see all the time. It's like something that they were taught from a young age. The water is kind of a scary place. You don't go there. One day I was at basketball practice, and we had like a court, which was like right at the beach. And I was running suicide, sweating, and the waves were going off. And I had like 3 friends run past me, and they were looking at me like, "What are you doing there?" And like, I remember that was like the practice where I was like, I'm done. I put my shoes off, I walked off, and like the next day I was surfing. I don't know, it was like the rawness of being able to throw yourself out into nature and tame it. It's something I feel like I need to do every single day. It's like my therapist in a way. I go there, and if I'm having a good day, if I'm having a bad day, I feel like it's like a moment of reflection. In a sense, it's more of like a church to me.
Now it's recording.
Okay. Ready to go? Family. Yeah, I've never. And what? And what? And what? Bro, don't even act. I see you here a lot. Okay, yeah.
It does hurt me to see that people think that they can't do something because they're some color, because I was raised so differently.
I remember growing up and wanting to swim and wanting to surf, and you know, my friends telling me, oh, you know, you're trying to do that white people stuff.
I was surfing in Manhattan Beach, and that area is pretty notorious for its localism because everybody who lives along the beach has this strange sense of entitlement that they own the water or the ocean. And that's just not true. The ocean is for everybody. One day we had an experience out there where, really long story, really short, we were called the N-word with the hard R on it a good amount of times. Threw water in my face repeatedly, broad daylight. It's like what it might have been like a Tuesday morning, right under the Manhattan Beach Pier. There's like 20 other dudes around, all white surfers from Manhattan Beach, not doing anything, not saying anything, just on looking. This is your solidarity, you know? And me, I had to remain graceful in that situation because I also understand who I am. I'm a black man in Manhattan Beach. I put hands on him out here in broad daylight with the police sitting right there. I get out the water, I'm the suspect. I'm not the victim no matter what happened. Like in the community that I grew up in, surfing was never an option. It was never something we thought about, talked about, watched. The way surfing is marketed.
Typically, you'll think about your
Blonde hair,
blue eyes,
white person, you know?
and I kind of have turned into that a little bit just from being in the water.
You're only gonna see one type of guy on the billboard for those big surf brands and what surfing is, and what the guy who surfs look like is a very specific archetype of a person that does not include anything that I identify with.
That's what media shows. We feel that. Like, we feel that when we're in the parking lot. We feel that when we get into the water and there's like kind of these, you know, side-eyed, you know, looks coming at you.
And I think a lot of other black people who pursue any sort of aquatic sports really have a tendency to feel
Alone, that nobody else wants to do that stuff, and that you're kind of odd in some way for wanting to partake in these different activities.
Without having that like figure to look at is that, like, you know, that mental block that keeps a lot of people from going to the beach, I feel like.
And I think what's been incredible to see in the past 2 years is how much that's not true.
So Ebony Beach Club was the response, so we could have a sense of community and oneness and togetherness where we're like, okay, that person does it, that person does it. We can learn and we can create our own culture within it.
Through Color the Water, we've kind of relieved some of those barriers to entry with free surf lessons, like free boards and suits and things like that. So now there's more access, and people are seeing more people that look like them in the water.
My role models now are people like Lizelle. Don't wait, and just remember that it's your birthright to be in the water.
We're more than just football and basketball, and I'm glad I just, you know, step outside of our norm and was just like, let's just try this. And he's insanely amazing.
Because you never know, like there's young people that have been surfing with us for 2 years that have a natural talent and they're like on their way to being pro, you know? So just go for it, don't wait.
Watch videos. Look up black surfers. The content is out there now, you know? Connie Stewart and Julian Williams and Mikey February, and the list goes on. So it's like now we have something to really sink our teeth into. So I feel like this is why it's important for us to continue to organize, especially on the coast.
But also, it's just less intimidating when you're going in there with friends and people that look like you. So you know that when that side eye comes at you, like they're feeling it too, and they understand it, and it doesn't have to be explained.
It's never been inclusive of us. The California dream and everybody at Malibu and the Beach Boys and like we never had any piece of creating that. So what we're doing now is like we have the opportunity to create our own surf culture, which I think is a fusion of surf and our culture. And it doesn't just reduce it to surf culture, you know what I mean?
I'm a beach bum, suddenly I bury my feet down in the sand. The sun said goodnight, I lay my head down yet again. Yeah, we repeat like Bean and them, know a nigga got a little tan. You be ice cold, I'm a fan. I don't fuck with niggas, they fold. I ain't in love with none of my old work, but I'm proud and that's how that go. I just had to drop shorty cause the bathroom mirror said live, love, and let go. When I pass fire, I might go Maya, and you know her love like whoa. I can't never dub that no, hey you know you got my vote. SOS, catch my breath, I need some rest. Stuck on that, I might love you like a check. She won't slide out to the water, ain't no mess. Trees go sandy, I'm like, baby, that's the best. Like she wanna go to Malibu, but I don't do the beach. Ain't no shade out there, but nothing out my reach. I be down the roller, baby, down the teach. SPF and body butters on that beach. Like she wanna go to Malibu, but I don't do the beach. Ain't no shade out there, but nothing out my reach. I be down the roller, baby, down the teach. SPF and body butters.